Hey, badass black girls, and they making big moves. Hey, badass black girls, nothing that you can't do. They are the future, I'm trying to tell ya. They want the best, no time to settle. They got the strength to handle the pressure. These are the queens, nobody better. Yeah, changing the narrative, that is imperative. They about to rock this. Tell the women that you got this. Got no time for people who are toxic. It's all love, good vibes. You know I got your back, girl. Talking issues that matter. This is badass black girl, yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Badass Black Girl. Today we have another special guest. Morgan Jerkins is here with us.
My name is Morgan Jerkins. I'm New Jersey born and raised, though currently living on the West Coast now. I am a three-time author. My debut book, This Will Be My Undoing, Living at the Intersection of Black, Female, and Feminist in White America, was published in 2018. My second book, Wandering in Strange Lands, A Daughter of the Great Migration, Reclaims Her Roots, was published in August of 2020. And my latest work, Caul Baby, is a novel that was published this past April. I am also the senior culture editor at ESPN's The Undefeated. And from time to time, I used to teach at Columbia University's nonfiction program in their M.F.A program at the School of the Arts there. So I was born and raised in southern New Jersey. I was born in Atlantic County before moving 30 minutes up to a place called Williamstown, which is not too far from Cherry Hill and outside of the Philadelphia area. And what I can say about New Jersey is that it's very diverse. And what I mean by that is like there's different regions. South Jersey is way different from Central Jersey. South Jersey is way different from North Jersey in terms of entertainment, in terms of just about everything. And so I think it's because of North Jersey, the proximity to New York. So I think New Jersey is special for me. When I think of New Jersey, I think of diners. I think of Wawa, and because of me being born in Atlantic County, I think of the Jersey Shore. So people think of the Jersey Shore from the MTV show Jersey Shore, but that's actually the Jersey Shore of the northern part of Jersey. I'm from the southern part, which is like Atlantic City, Margate, Longport, Brigantine, those types of areas. And so when I think of those places, a lot of nostalgia fills me because obviously very different. Atlantic City was hard hit by the pandemic. The people I know were very intimately affected because there were different casinos there, right? Like Trump Plaza and Trump Hotel, Trump Marina, Trump Taj Mahal, and they all shuttered, or they were in a huge decline. But I also remember the boardwalks, just even uttering boardwalks. I can smell the funnel cake. I think about the arcade games. I think about the bowling alleys, and even though I moved away from it, I remember how much fun I did have, especially in the summertime like this. So it is a special place for me.
The place I visited was New Brunswick. I don't know where that is in the big
Yeah.
world.
So New Brunswick, it's funny because when I lived in Atlantic County, I thought New Brunswick was North Jersey. But it wasn't until I went to Princeton, which is probably about 15 minutes on the New Jersey Transit, from New Brunswick. I learned that New Brunswick's actually Central Jersey. There's amongst native New Jerseyans, there's always a bit of a debate about what constitutes Central Jersey, but New Brunswick is Central Jersey.
Let's talk about what it means to be a Black woman in America for you these days.
I will say that, Black women, they've always been speaking. They've always been producing. And I've been very fortunate and blessed to have the platform that I have, in order to honor my own voice, but also those in my sphere and those who came before me. What does it mean to be a Black woman in America? I mean, for me, being a Black woman in America, well, being a Black woman, period, I wouldn't have it any other way. Um, I love the fact that I'm a Black woman. I love the fact that I am connected to my history. I love the fact that I am a part of a lineage of people who are the innovators in every single facet of culture. I love the fact that we still create and we still love and we still laugh, um, in spite of it all. And that's where the American context comes in, because I do realize that as a Black woman in America, my presence can be threatening. My presence can be intimidating. I'm often misunderstood. I oftentimes question my own perceptions because I know what the larger world would say. Um, and I think being a Black woman in America is both a blessing and a challenge. I think it's a blessing because of all the reasons I stated. I think it's also a challenge because I feel like it is part of my responsibility as a person in the world of arts and letters is to make sure that other Black women don't get erased, don't get diminished, whether that's in literature or just in general. And I think that's the part that's the most frustrating is that by being a Black woman and because of the legacy of the transatlantic slave trade and all the oppression that followed from there, there is this stronghold on society to control Black women, to keep them boxed in, and I want to subvert that. So Caul Baby is a magical realist novel. I got the inspiration writing Caul Baby because I love reading about African American folklore, particularly Southern African American folklore. And one of the beliefs that if a baby is born with a caul, meaning they're born inside the amniotic sac, they have these supernatural abilities. They either impervious to physical pain, they can heal other people's ailments, or they have the gift of second sight, meaning that they can see in the past and or the future. So I was really interested in that concept. I was also interested in making Harlem as visceral as a character as human beings because Harlem, where I lived for 6 years, was very crucial to my artistic development. And so the book basically it takes the idea of a call and it magnifies it. So what I have is these group of women, I call them call bearers, who make an enterprise out of selling parts of their call to people to heal them. And this concept puts them at odds with people because they're Black women living in Harlem, and most of the patrons that they give parts of themselves to are white. So this story actually gets complicated because as they're looking for a successor to take on this family enterprise, they come across this abandoned child who has a call. They raise her up, not realizing that she is a biological daughter of someone else in the community who has a personal vendetta against them because of the way that that call bearing family slighted a family member of hers. And so she grows up to aspire to be the DA of Manhattan in order to go after these call bearing family. So this story combines not only different generations, it also approaches the subject or delves into the subject of Black motherhood, survival, capitalism, and of course, gentrification in the neighborhood of Harlem. And the process of that was interesting because for those of you who are not familiar with the publication process, I think some people might think that because my second book was published in August of 2020 and this was published in April of 2021, they were kind of back to back. And that's not true. I started thinking and writing the first iterations of Caul Baby when I was still in grad school in 2015. It was initially supposed to be a short story, and my mentor, his name is Alex Chi, he was the one that suggested that Caul Baby become a novel. And so 2015 was also the year that I moved to Harlem. So both of those events converged. And so that was the process of writing Caul Baby through its many iterations onto publication was 6 years.
That's amazing. And that leads to my next question. You
Mhm.
mentioned moving to Harlem and how that coincided with part of your journey for writing this book. How does your environment affect the way you approach a writing project?
Oh, well, what I will say is that I used to be so neglectful of space. When I was living in Williamstown, I was very, very, and I mean very, um, ashamed of where I lived. I didn't like the town much when I moved there when I was 13. So I definitely had a hard time writing about place. I could write about everything else, but I had a really hard time writing about place. But then when I went to Harlem, first off, I moved to Harlem because of its rich cultural legacy, particularly with the Harlem Renaissance. So there was no way that I can go there and not be inspired. And coming from a suburban town, to a major, major metropolis like New York City, you are going to suck it up like a sponge. So I was inspired by not just black people like African Americans, but the diaspora of black people in Harlem. I was inspired by the sights, the sounds, the smells, and I wanted to honor that place that gave me so much. So someone in the previous interview I did, someone said, well, Caul Baby seems like a love letter to Harlem, and in fact it is. Because I'm gonna forever be indebted to Harlem. Harlem was the neighborhood that not only that I wrote Caul Baby, Harlem was the neighborhood that actually I wrote all three of my books in Harlem. Harlem is also the place, where most of my, like, pretty much my entire career was spent up until this point in Harlem.
Tell us a little bit about your writing routine.
Yes,
Maybe you have one, maybe you don't.
I do.
Okay,
Yes.
awesome. People always get curious about that because I
Right,
know there are so
right.
many ways to write. So when someone is so successful as you are,
Thank
we
you.
get curious about, okay, what's the secret sauce? What do you
Yes.
do? How do you start?
So I'm gonna say this. So I don't think there's a secret sauce. I think my thing is, it's like, if there's one thing I'm confident about, it's my discipline and my work ethic. I am very self-guided. I can get up and do what I need to do. What I usually like to tell people is that, like, you have to know your stride. My stride is the early morning. I wake up probably 5:30 in the morning, and I get writing no later than 6. But I only write at most an hour and a half, 2 hours these days. I don't write all day because one of the reasons I have a full-time job, but also because I maximize my time. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, if you work out, right? You don't need to work out 4 hours every single day. But if you maximize using your muscles for an hour, 45 minutes, you're going to be feeling that burn all day long. So I don't write all day long. I oftentimes don't even write every single day because I understand that my brain has a battery, in a sense, figuratively speaking. And it's just like or you could say, like, your brain is like, it's like a tank of gas. It's gonna go down, and you need to recharge and rest. So I always tell people that rest is just as important as the production. One doesn't happen without the other. Your body needs to recharge in order to be able to yield results. And that's why I'm a huge proponent of naps. I love naps. I wake up early in the morning, and I love a good afternoon nap. And aside from that writing routine, usually I come in the morning, and I pray before I start writing. I pray in order to center myself. Sometimes I will light a candle. Sometimes I will play like instrumental music. I'm a huge retro wave fan. Retro wave is like, it's hard to describe, but it's like if you were born and raised in the 80s, which I'm not. I was not. It has that type of music feel, very electric. And so I usually listen to that. But beyond that, my writing routine is pretty simple.
Let's talk a little bit about you personally now.
Hmm.
I'm curious about what makes you happy in the world.
Oh man, what makes me happy in the world? I love the ingenuity of Black Twitter. I love that. I love to see Black women win. I mean, what's been making me happy in the world is like people like Simone Biles, for example, people like Naomi Osaka. What makes me happy in the world? What makes me happy is Ella Fitzgerald's voice. What makes me happy is, like I said, a good candle that smells good. What makes me happy in the world is so many things, good food, um, and other things that make me happy in the world. Um, Honestly, it's a lot of things. I think the thing is just like, I'm in a very good space in my life right now, so I'm appreciating all the little things. I can go outside, and I think today I went outside and I saw like a huge bed of these purple flowers that I have yet to be able to name, and I just stopped and I took a picture of it because if you see my fingers, like they're like a lavender color. So I just took a picture of it, and I was like, I felt like I was meant to see that. You know what I mean? And that made me happy.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about the role models that you've had throughout your life? Not just the real um, flesh and bones ones, but some fictional characters are welcome as well.
Oh yeah, so my role model is my mother. My role model is Toni Morrison. My role model, Toni Morrison for her prose, Zora Neale Hurston for her curiosity, Josephine Baker for her charisma and her versatility. A lot of the role models in literature, I love Jo March from Little Women because she was an aspiring writer who defied gender conventions in New England. um, and other characters that I think of like are role models. Let's see, fictional characters, fictional. I'm a huge Sailor Moon fan, so I love Sailor Mercury because she was very smart and very nerdy and into her books like I was in school. So I was a huge fan of hers as well. It's interesting because like I'm thinking about like other characters that have stuck with me. I don't even think of them as like role models, but they've stuck with me. So for example, like um the character of Moselle Baptiste in Eve's Bayou, for example, played by Debbie Morgan. I'm thinking about the characters, the female characters in Sula. You know what I mean? Of Toni Morrison Sula. I think about, let's see, other people. I think that's, I mean, I'm thinking about like 90s movies, like a lot of black female representation. So, like Jason's Lyric, for example, or Baps, or all these different movies, and like they stuck with me, and they comforted me at a point in time.
Now I'm gonna pick your brains for some things that you do to get you back to your center when you're having a bad day.
Oh man, meditating, like really paying attention to my breathing, going in and out, and I feel like every time I breathe out, like I'm letting some part of my stress out. Um, Being open and honest about it, to myself and if someone's around, to them as well. Napping always helps to shut out the world and come back, and things sort of fall into place there. And those are usually the things I like to do, to help to just calm down, because I know that it'll pass. And it's okay for me to panic for a little bit, but I know that like it's gonna pass.
I know that your latest book is brand new, but I
Mhm.
have to ask what is next because I'm pretty sure you started thinking about your next book. I know you're full of ideas. You've been writing for quite a while. So, what are you working on right now?
So right now I'm working on my fourth book. It's another novel. And so that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm waking up in the morning for.
What do you think needs to change about the world so that it can become a better place? And what I mean here is, when I think about a better place, I think of a place where the playing field is leveled for everyone, particularly for Black women.
Oh, I
More
mean, one of the
equitable.
things, yeah, yeah, that's a huge question. I think one of the biggest things, like, pay Black women what they're worth. Pay Black women what they're worth. If you're inviting a Black woman to be on anything, if you're asking for her expertise, if you're mining her knowledge, or if you're just taking up her time, pay her. Pay Black women, and pay Black women well, because we give so much, not only to our community but those outside of it. So I think that would make it a place that's more equitable. I think about in the publishing industry things that I would see. I think that unpaid internship should not be allowed. I definitely believe that even if you are have a starting salary, it should definitely be increased, because living in New York City. And I think what would help for Black women, especially, to make things equitable for Black women, is to have more culturally sensitive doctors, um, and advocates for Black women in the medical industry, or medical industrial complex, if you will. So that's a couple of things I could think, like, off the top of my head.
My last question is as follows: what makes you a badass Black girl?
I think what makes me a badass Black girl is that I know that I'm a badass storyteller. And if anything happens throughout the day, whether I don't feel like I'm looking attractive, or I'm off, I still know that I can spin a damn good story. And that is what makes me a badass Black woman.
We're in awe at what you do, and we really want you to continue on your path of success. And we hope that you will come again and visit us soon.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It was great speaking with you.
See you again soon.
Thank you.